Colin O'Keefe here again for LXBN TV. The Associated Press recently published a report that casts some doubt on oil and gas industry claims that water contamination from drilling rarely happens. Joining me now to share his thoughts and respond a bit to the report is attorney Justin Lemaire. He is in New Orleans with Stone Pigman, Walter Whitman, and he is an author on the firm's Environmental and Energy Law Brief. Justin, first, can you walk us through the AP's reports? It seems environmentalists have been looking for something like this, the crucial link between drilling and water contamination. But is it as damaging as some people seem to think?
Sure. The article was written by Kevin Begos, who's an AP writer who's focused or written extensively on natural gas drilling-related issues. And it grabs your attention in the opening paragraph by saying that data obtained by the AP shows that there have been hundreds of cases of water well contamination complaints and numerous confirmed cases, and that the data the AP has casts doubts, like you said, on industry assurances that these problems are rare. But if you really look at what the article says, it may be less clear than that opening paragraph suggests. What the AP did was they requested, I take it through public records type requests, to regulators in 4 different states that have been at the forefront of the recent natural gas drilling boom, data relating to natural gas drilling complaints and specifically water well contamination complaints. And the 4 states that they obtained data from are Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, and Texas. And the data shows hundreds of complaints and numerous what they call confirmed cases of water well contamination. But some of the details are less than clear. For example, it's not clear from the article, and I take it it's not clear from the data exactly what it means for a contamination case to be confirmed. That could mean that there's a confirmed link between natural gas drilling and the contamination found in a well. Or it could mean simply that there was a complaint and that contaminants were confirmed to be found in that particular water well. And that's an important distinction because, as the article points out, there could be multiple sources, potential sources for contaminants in a water well. Some of it could be naturally occurring, like methane gas. It could come from non-natural sources, but sources other than natural gas or oil drilling. So that's an important distinction. That's a detail that's not quite clear from the article or from the data the AP obtained. Another thing that's not clear, a lot of people are going to be quick to try to draw the link to fracking because that's sort of the hot button issue. But the article says that the link between these contamination cases and fracking is not clear. In Ohio, for example, there were 6 cases, confirmed cases of water well contamination since 2010, but according to the Ohio regulators, there was no link to fracking in any of those 6 cases, so that's not clear. Maybe to me the more interesting thing about the article, rather than the findings, was the problems or the differences the AP encountered in trying to obtain the data from the different state regulators.
Speaking of that, and then segueing a bit here, you raised that interesting point in your post responding to this report. Can you share your thoughts on that particular point, on how the data collected by the AP and the data collected by the states varies from state to state?
Sure, yeah, there were broad differences. You can tell from reading the article, not only in the responsiveness of the regulators, but in the level of detail that of the information they provided. As far as responsiveness, the article talks about sort of an ordeal the AP faced dealing with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, multiple years trying to obtain this data and even court fights. You contrast that with Texas. The Texas Railroad Commission apparently provided information almost immediately, a 90-plus page spreadsheet covering 10 years. And not just differences in responsiveness, but the levels of detail. You can tell from the article that Pennsylvania and Ohio regulators provided just raw numbers, X number of complaints, X number of confirmed cases, whereas, like I said, Texas had a 90-plus page spreadsheet with all manner of drilling-related complaints, not just water well complaints, and it had details like the date the complaint was received, who the landowner was, the identity of the drilling company, and a synopsis covering the nature of the complaint. So that's really interesting. It's maybe not completely surprising because public access to records in, I would venture to say, every state is controlled by statute. And so you're going to have differences from state to state as far as the record-keeping requirements imposed on regulators. exactly what records the public has a right to access, or what the exceptions are to the public's right to access records. And not just formal statutory differences, but there could also be differences just in the initiative levels or the initiative taken by the regulators. I mean, it's entirely possible that someone in the Texas Railroad Commission decided that there'd been a lot of public interest in natural gas drilling complaints, and that maybe Texas should start cataloging those complaints and have it readily available for when somebody requests information on it. And so somebody started that spreadsheet and put it together. Maybe one of the takeaways from the article is that there seems to be broad agreement from across the spectrum that maybe more states should be taking that type of initiative. The article quotes academics, landowners, and even people related to the industry who feel like the public has a right to know this type of information, and it might be better for everybody involved if that was more readily available.
Absolutely. I think it'd be better for both sides of the debate on this, whether it's the landowners and the environmentalists, or it's the industry side. I think it'd be better for both parties to have accurate and consistent data as far as what happens with regards to drilling and water contamination. Once again, that was attorney Justin Lemaire. He is in New Orleans with Stone Pigman Walter Whitman. For more of his insight, particularly on this AP report, be sure to visit environmentalenergylawbrief.com. And of course, if you're not watching us here on our site right now, be sure to visit LXBN.com, where you can find more of these LXBN TV video interviews and curated commentary from Lex Blog Network. It is the world's largest legal blog network. Thank you for joining me today, Justin.
Thank you, Colin.